Welcome back to Tips Over Tea. This is episode 10. I had the great pleasure of speaking with Stacey Ruth today. She is the author of Own Your Own Shift, The Power, Passion, and Freedom to Be Unstoppable. I love that title, and resilience is a big part of wellness. So make sure you grab your tea and listen in. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Tips Over Tea. I am so glad you're here with us. I am excited to welcome Stacey Ruth to the show. Stacey Ruth, thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday to come hang out with us and share your expertise.
Can't think of any place I'd rather be. Come on.
I love it.
Let's be well.
Well, we definitely can be well with your concept of unstoppable. I was just reading your bio, amazing accomplishments. And I kind of wanted to start with your book a little bit, Own Your Own Shift.
Yeah.
To me, that reminds me of resilience and how to be unstoppable. So can you share more about that and your concept of what you do, how you help folks and all that, and give all of us some great nuggets?
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Well, we could talk for hours about all of that. So the book is about personal transformation. And I focus on women leaders, executives, CEOs, founders, most prominently, because that's where I played. And I have unique insight and understanding to women being in a man's world, and how we can sacrifice our well-being, health-wise, emotional health, all the balance. We can give it up in order to try to fit in rather than owning what is ours already. And the uniqueness that we bring. And I think that's true for any unique demographic. Yes. So the book, though, is about where we are ready to kind of move to that next level in our experience. And it might be losing weight. It might be getting a new career. It might be starting a business. It might be starting a family. It could be anything. Some people find that thing easy, but for us, somehow we get kind of stuck and stuck at the level where we are. And so that's what the book is for, those places where we get stuck. And no judgment if you're stuck at this place, because that's your place to learn what you need to learn. So whenever we change, whenever we're making that kind of shift, and be careful how you say that, whenever we're making that kind of shift, that's uniquely difficult for us. There are 12 universal stages we're going to go through to get from where we are to where we want to be. And we can get kind of stuck at any one of those stages. So the book walks us through what to expect, right? So what the next stage is, to expect it, because being forearmed and forewarned is being able to navigate it. And also has some great exercises to anchor each step along the way. Wouldn't it be great to have that kind of manual for life? And walks us through that. It's like, you're not alone. You don't have to do this by yourself. Get a tribe, get a mentor, get a coach like you or I, and get the help that you need to navigate what is uniquely difficult for you. So I've had a lot of people reach out to me after reading it and say, "Oh my gosh, you wrote this for me." And that is what makes me feel like, I'm really hitting a nerve with a lot of people.
What just in reading your story, what kind of drew you to writing that book? Was it after you, because you've been through a lot,
yeah, I've been through a lot. Yeah.
3 divorces and share more how did you run into getting, or how did you go into creating that book for folks?
Well, yes, I was a woman running a business for I had 2 agencies, and you saw in my bio, by external means, I was very successful at running those businesses, top 50 entrepreneurs in Atlanta, top 100 agencies twice, great. Yay us, right? And we were doubling in growth every year. I mean, we were doing all the things that you think you're supposed to do in a business. And at the same time, my health was suffering. My hair was falling out. I was gaining weight. I mean, all of these things that I was sacrificing my total, I'll say total well-being for external validation that I was doing it right, and through that process, I finally hit a wall that I could not continue doing it the way I was doing it, or I would be physically incapable and potentially, permanently unable, right? Or unable, excuse me. And so that was the place where I chose to take a step back and reassess what it was I was doing. And when I did that, I got my coaching certification. I became a metaphysical minister, which is a trans-denominational ministry. And so, I get to study all of these common spiritual principles of how we really can lean into our own personal transformation, how we can really lean in to our personal fulfillment and joy and happiness and enduring relationships, And so I mentored a lot of women who were on a similar journey to me, and I started seeing all these common experiences and trends. Yeah. So that was what really led me to say, this is, if not universal, almost universal.
Sure. When do you believe, or when do women mostly come to you? Like, how do they identify that they're stuck? Because like for me, I was stuck in a rut, but I didn't like that was life in my own imagination or whatever. At that time, it was like, that's life. Yet you still have this like yearning feeling, like something, this can't be all there is. You know what I mean? Like, but then you're like, I don't even know where to start. And so what do you find that women come to you initially and say, like, I need help with this? Or, how does that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's not just one thing.
Right.
I talk a lot about my business experience. I have a background in marketing and branding and business strategy, marketing strategy, branding strategy. So some women will come to me and say, help me run my business. Okay. And then it develops into personal branding, and it develops into now we're growing so fast. And that's actually a big one. I'm overwhelmed. And I don't understand how to take this tiger by the tail, right? So sometimes managing overwhelm and getting clarity and direction and strategy and a plan, sometimes that's where we begin to engage, right? And some women, especially those that are in corporate, so I work with executives and C-suite women. I work with some men too. I don't mean to shut the men out, but my specialty is women and their issues, because women have a hard time finding their voice sometimes, even at the highest levels, like a chief innovation officer in a major corporation. I'm not going to give her, full bio away, but oh my gosh, she struggles with imposter syndrome. Right. So some of these women feel like they can't get to the next level. So they want some tools and some strategies and some techniques there. But others are having a hard time dealing with difficult personalities, politics. How do I grow my influence and my impact within this organization when I feel like someone outside of me is stopping me? And it's never really the person outside of us, but we have to work through some limiting beliefs that we have about what we're allowed to do for ourselves.
Yeah. I love the word allowed. We have to remind, like, words are so important. I talk about that frequently, and I actually was just thinking about it today, where I was like, I need to, and always correct. I don't correct. I ask, if I hear somebody say I need to, I say need or will, because I myself. Because need to will keep you stuck sometimes because it'll start to overwhelm because you'll see how many things you need to do. And so instead of it keeps you in an indecisive mode when it
Correct.
sounds indecisive, right? So,
Yes.
which adds stress.
Oh yeah, I work with some incredibly powerful, brilliant women.
Mhm.
It's not about how smart you are. It's not about how much credibility and expertise you've achieved or power and influence that you've achieved. We all have this inner place where we have not fully, because that's the life's journey, fully gotten to know ourselves,
Mhm.
fully stepped into who we are and that infinite possibility that's
Mhm.
inside of all of us. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
if I'm a paraplegic, I might not be an Olympic athlete, but I might in the Paralympics.
Yeah.
I mean, who's to say no?
Yeah. Yeah. You are the only person saying no.
Well, right, and you get to say no. That's
Yeah,
actually that's a real power
it
statement.
is.
You get to say this, not this,
Yeah. Yeah.
or not that, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right, right. Yes. Yeah, because sometimes we feel like we are saying no, and we tend to have guilt behind saying no, like setting boundaries, which I imagine some of the ladies you work with have trouble with boundaries too in
Mhm.
the job, and they probably have families, and they're like, how do you work through that?
Yeah. Well, women particularly like to take care of everybody else first,
Yeah, yeah,
which means that I heard this said so beautifully, that you're giving from your essence rather than your excess, and that's not sustainable. It needs to be reversed. I
yeah.
have to restore, establish, strengthen, create that foundation of my essence
Mhm,
before I have anything to give, and I
mhm,
can only give from my excess, or I will deplete myself the way I did when I was running my
mhm,
business.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I was sharing with someone the other day, just even once a day doing something you really, really enjoy
Oh,
can give you energy and fill your cup a little bit more every day instead of trying to do everything at once. Like always, that's why I say wellness is a lifestyle instead of like an event. Because we tend to
right,
picture wellness as like, let's go to the spa for 4 hours today.
right.
Who has time for that? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But if you don't, how are you incorporating some type of self-care every day a little bit?
Right, and I will tell you, I learned from one of my mentors, is in my book,
Mhm.
David Alt, that there have to be self-care non-negotiables, and the non-negotiables for me are in the morning, every morning, even if I'm running behind, I'll shorten it, but I won't not do it. is is a time for meditation, a time for reading, prayer, and for exercise.
Mhm, mhm,
And if I get 5 minutes, then I get 5 minutes.
mhm.
But that's 5 minutes that changes the trajectory of my day.
Yeah, yeah, and you're
So that,
showing up
yeah.
for yourself. So
Well, yeah, yeah, and it doesn't have to be formal or in my little meditation space, which I have. I would actually take it with me when I would travel. I used to travel almost 260 days out of the year,
wow.
which is part of my health problem, but I would still take it with me,
Yeah,
and I would exercise in the room and in my hotel room, and I would do my meditation. I had a little travel candle. Shh, don't tell the hotels. I think that's against the rules, but yeah.
yeah,
So mhm.
yeah, I will, I do that when I do travel. I'll take a diffuser, a portable diffuser and essential oil.
Yes.
So it is definitely helpful, and there is a difference between the days when you do that and not do that.
Oh, I can absolutely tell the difference,
Yeah.
especially the meditation. Oh, and I do journaling too.
Mhm,
So if
mhm.
I need to do 2 or 3 minutes and you know get going, I still give myself that 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some of the challenges that you've helped women through just from that like wellness perspective? Like,
Mm.
have you, or some of the things that I would say, like, if you've given them something and that didn't work, like, how do you shift? Because a lot of times people will get a tip or something, but like, we'll try that and it didn't work for them, and they feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
what's wrong with me is how they
yeah,
feel.
yeah.
Why didn't that work?
Mhm,
But there's another thing that can function too, and
mhm,
let me make sure I understand the question. So
mhm.
the question is, what have I helped them with, and how did they navigate if it didn't work?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm. Well, I've helped them with a lot of things,
sure.
and I'm trying to think about one where it didn't work. There's really two things that are at play when it doesn't work.
Okay.
One is it's just not a good fit for their strengths. It's
Mhm,
not a good fit for their situation, their
mhm.
personality. That's why we have lots of tools in our toolkit,
Yeah,
right, as
yeah,
coaches.
yeah.
But also, there's another thing at play, and this tends to be at play more often than anything else in my experience.
Mhm,
Maybe it's because I need to look at it, but it is an unwillingness, an unreadiness, that's the word, an unreadiness to
mhm.
actually do something differently. So what we want in our culture is instant results.
Yeah,
What we want in our culture is someone to fix it for me. Don't make me actually have to get uncomfortable and get out of my comfort zone in order to make the change that I say I want.
yeah,
Well, then you don't want it enough to get out of your comfort zone. So let's not pretend that you want it that badly,
yeah,
really,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and I liken it to, physical exercise, weightlifting, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, somebody comes and says, I really want to have better relationships at work with my peers and with my boss.
Mhm,
Well, then we're going to need to work on how can you uh, communicate one-on-one rather than through email, for example,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Because you're doing everything in email and it's getting misinterpreted and well, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. you
Mhm.
know, then what can we do? What can we do then?
Yeah,
You know, and so that's always a delicate balance with
yeah.
coaching, right? You can
Mhm,
make a suggestion, but that's all it is. It's just a suggestion.
mhm.
The healing, the shift, the transformation always rests with the person who is in the client seat.
Yeah, yep,
Always.
they're doing the work. Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't do it for you.
Oh my goodness, so many people want to be told the answer. Like, what's my answer? I'm
Yeah,
like, I can't tell you what your answer is.
right.
Only you will know what your answer is, but I'm happy to give you a shift in perspective,
Yes.
right? I'm happy
Mhm,
to offer some alternative ways of doing this
mhm.
that you may or may not want to try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I've encountered too,
Mhm.
that, like, asking for the answer, I'm like, there is there are some answers, so you have
Right.
to figure out which one fits with you,
Yes.
but you're gonna have to try some things on.
Yeah. One of the challenges when somebody really can't quite see a different way of doing
Mhm,
or they're judging themselves,
mhm, mhm,
is I invite them to come up with 10 different scenarios that they could do it differently.
mhm,
And in that process, what they learn to do is to stop judging whether it will work or not. We tend to
mhm,
jump in front of ourselves and say, oh, that won't work. Oh, that won't work. Oh, that won't work. And so what
mhm.
we do then is we limit the options that we're even willing to say, well, it's an option. I don't have
Yeah,
to do it. It's an
yeah,
option,
yep,
right?
mhm,
And, well, I'll lose my job if I did that. Well, maybe,
mhm.
maybe not. We don't know. So it's an option, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
that's a very mind expanding, heart expanding exercise that takes almost no time.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because getting out of your head, and that's why I do
Mhm.
the drawing with people, is because
Yes.
it separates you from, all of that conscious thought. It kinda brings in the subconscious and all the extra creativity because 'cause you're using both sides of your brain.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. We have this deep need to be right.
Mhm,
I have to make the right
mhm,
decision,
mhm.
which disallows that there could be 15 right decisions,
Yep, yep,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, we're very we can get very rigid, and it's interesting to me too. Often, the higher we go in organizational structure, the more rigid we can become about what we're going to allow to be a right decision, because that's the way it's been done. That's the way the person in front of me did it. That's the way I've been told to do it. That's the way it's worked so far, right? And that limits us from getting to that next level.
Yeah, I can see how that could keep you stuck. And of course, if you don't have someone at the next level sharing the fact that they stepped out of their rigidity, then you
Right.
think that they stayed in it and that's how they made it to the next level. So I
Oh,
would imagine also conversing with finding mentors who, especially like
yeah.
you, 'cause you've already been there up to the next level, but just conversing with people who've been there, like how did you get out of that stuckness and that
Yeah.
so rigid?
Well, and often we sit in the hallway. Like, there's all these doors of possibility in front of us, and I talk about the hallway in my book, and the first stage of shift is being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Wherever
Mhm,
we are, we're done with that, right?
mhm,
But there's this place between. It's our kind of our shift purgatory, right? We call it the hallway, and
mhm.
there's all these doors, and we don't know which one to go through, so we just sit there.
Yeah.
Right? And you can sit there for years if you want to, and there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
right? Just don't complain about it and don't say you're a victim, because there's all these doors. You could walk through any of them at any time.
Yeah, and that's key too, like, realizing that not deciding is actually deciding not to
Correct.
decide.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
anyone making you stay there, it's you just choosing not to decide on something, which can be stressful or it can keep you from being overwhelmed and stressed too. So, like you
Yeah.
said, it's your choice, what's working for you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I get to choose over and over again. I mean, that's the nature of marketing. It's the nature of branding, personal or business branding, or both. If you're the CEO, you're both.
Mhm.
Um, it's the nature of transformation is that we make a choice, right?
Mhm.
We're going to, let's say, we're going to market on Facebook, or we're going
Mhm.
to here you go, do a podcast
Mhm.
and really get our voice out there.
Mhm.
But what we forget is that it might work for a while, and then it's time to do something else, or it might not work the way we think it's going to,
Mhm.
and we get to choose to do something different
Mhm.
or integrate it into something else. And it's never set in stone. It's always a moving target. It's
Yeah.
always something that we're going to be assessing and reassessing and realigning in order to grow and to learn. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't be all of me if I'm not willing to keep learning and growing.
Yeah. Yeah, that, being comfortable-ish in a dynamic environment and the ambiguity is key to,
Yes,
right?
and we hate ambiguity almost as much as we hate being uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah. But then it is also is exhilarating, especially when you, like, try something new and you find out, like, "Holy crap, why didn't I do this sooner?"
Well, I generally try to stay out of regret. It tends to slow me down.
Yeah.
Being regretful actually tends to slow me down. Being excited,
Mhm,
is kind of what I call the pink cloud effect,
mhm,
and it gets us through that initial discomfort,
mhm, mhm.
and when we do that, that momentum is created, but it will wear off.
Yeah.
And that's natural and normal. It's natural and normal in a love relationship. It's natural and normal for a mom with a baby that's gonna have
Mhm.
to be she's gonna have to be up all night and lose sleep for several months, right? There's still
Mhm.
that pink cloud when she holds that baby and that
Yeah.
love, right? So, I mean, it's a natural chemical
Yeah.
experience in our
Response, yeah.
body. Mhm.
Another thing that helps with ambiguity is just getting curious. Like,
Oh,
if you just
that's
get
one of my values words. Yes.
Yeah, it was something I had to learn because, uh, fear was one of my biggest, like, stay stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Um, 'Cause I like, what if? Like, that's the best question to keep you stuck.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, future
Depending on how you word it.
not being fully present, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
In the book, I talk about the fear that we experience in a fire walk. That you can know the physics behind it, but when you're standing on the edge of the fire and you see those flames and it's 9 feet in front of you and you're going to have to walk across it to get to the thing that you say you want more than anything else in this world. That's what the fire walk is about.
Wow.
It's terrifying. And they've made you sign legal waivers and watch the PowerPoint about all the people that went to the emergency room before you come down to walk on the fire, right?
No pressure.
No pressure. Little new rituals that we do, But ultimately, that is what those coals and embers. The coals don't conduct heat, so you want to stay up here, right? But the embers that are creating the flames and the heat, they're like the challenges that we experience in shift, right? And the thing that we forget is those challenges, like the fire, we helped build, we helped bless them, and it's always our choice whether we get to walk across them or not. We choose. You can just turn right around and say, nope, not doing that today. No, ma'am. Next fire. Nobody's going to make you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. So we have just a few minutes left. I don't know how that happens every time.
Well, you get people talking about what they love,
That's true. That is very true. Are there some things that you would like to leave everyone with before
Well, I think that I'm fascinated by the well-being, right? That's such a hot topic for everyone right now. And there's been an interesting worldwide cultural focus on our physical well-being during COVID. And a lot of fear has come up around that, whether you are pro or anti, whatever, right? But ultimately, what we got a chance to do was to sit and be still with ourselves. Not everybody did it. We can distract ourselves being busy, whether everything slows down for COVID or not. But what really became clear to me was that my well-being didn't rest on my circumstances, right? My well-being rests on the integration of my emotional self, I'll call it my emotional body, my spiritual body, and my physical body, and keeping those in alignment. And that's really a huge part of the work that I do. I don't necessarily spell it out when we're working on, office politics, but that's still what we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the work I see you doing. And I can't say enough about how it all has to function together, or we will be out of balance and we will not be whole, healthy, and complete until we bring it all those three into balance.
Yeah. Intentionally, consciously. And one of the things that I struggled with in the beginning is for me, because I was naturally a pessimistic person. And so I really had to work I'm like, why do I have to work so hard at being positive and bringing this? What is wrong with me? So just knowing that we have to be very deliberate sometimes and in our well-being. Like if this is a state that we want, just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not meant to be. So just fighting yourself through that.
Well, and I'm a geek about neuroscience, and I love that you brought that up because nothing is wrong with you. And I think a lot of people, because they're comparing what's going on in their head, that inner critic and that inner negative Nelly, to other people's external persona, which looks so positive. And we are having a conversation with ourselves 50,000 times a day. On average, sometimes more. And 80% of those thoughts are negative. And that's universal. And that's why I love meditation and journaling and mantras. Oh my God, mantras, affirmations. Yes, please give me more of that, because I'm literally reprogramming my brain when I do that. And our brains are so resilient.
They are. I love the work that went into learning about that. Because we thought, back in the day, we thought there was no changes after you got a certain age and all that. So we can build pathways and everything just with what we feed ourselves.
Yes.
So I love that.
Yes. So it's exciting work for anybody that wants to go dig a little deeper. It is, I think it's one of the last frontiers for science, and it's super exciting to me.
It is. It is. Me too.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, we are pretty much at time.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for your nuggets and sharing with us today.
Absolutely.
If anybody wants to reach out to Stacey Ruth, her information will be in the bio on my YouTube channel. Please do. My information is there. Also, please subscribe, like to my YouTube channel, share with anyone who could use this information. I appreciate everyone's time today. Have a wonderful rest of your weekends. Ciao.
Ciao. Thank you.
Me and this button, I swear. Thanks again for hanging out with us. Make sure you subscribe, like, and click the bell. Share this with anyone you think could use this information, and I will see you on the next episode of Tips Over Tea.